Welcome to another Misfit Militia Monday Debriefing. It is me, the Mad Chazzler, sitting in behind the next iteration of Golden EIB microphones. That is right, paying homage to the late and great El Rushbo, who, much like ourselves, had his talent alone from God. We are here to bring you in. Oh, before I even get to that, sitting in, as you noticed, sitting in the gunner seat is Big Bad John. He is handling the technical stuff for me today, so I can sit up here and speak at you and tell you all these things and confuse you all. But I'm sure there are many questions for those of you who haven't seen much of me. Who is this Asian man? Why is he here instead of my Italian coffee man? If he spins in his chair, will he become disoriented? All these will be answered and more, but first we have to get to the important things. Yes, we have to get to news. We're not talking about the 2 scoops of ice cream news you are used to seeing on TV. We're talking about the important stuff. We're talking about the stuff that's going to decide for you whether you're going to take that job, the stuff that's going to help you figure out when you're going to retire or what you need to be, what stocks you need to buy. That's right. We have to get to coffee news. So, first thing, we want to kind of have a apology for the events. I guess we don't really need to apologize. So we weren't the ones who canceled it, but
it wasn't our fault. They decided they got rained out, and I mean, I'll drink coffee in the rain. I guess they won't though.
I don't even think it rained, did it?
I mean, not Saturday.
Yeah. So,
Maybe,
in
I guess
anticipation,
it was a tornado, but you know, there's always that.
A tornado. Okay, so your coffee is going to be better stirred.
That's right.
But so in the anticipation of the weather, the event that we had planned for Saturday night, they ended up canceling. So it will be redone at a later date. And to remind you, that is the Newbern Christmas tree lighting held by Tattoo Faith Off the Grid. So that's the first of it. The other thing is just wanted to let y'all know that the week in between Christmas and New Year's, we will not be having regular store hours. If you roll a nat 20, you may be able to find us here, but it's kind of coming and going just off of what we need to get done for later times or that. But
well, on top of that, I mean, we'll have my mini me misfit follow me around that week. So y'all want to come in and see her? I know she will be teeming with joy to serve y'all a cup of coffee that she won't drink herself because she's not quite there yet.
I feel it necessary to give you the proper warning. If you come in to see the Little Misfit, you might want to bring extra money because she will sell you everything on the shelves.
She's almost made me buy my own coffee before.
I'm pretty sure she has. I think I saw him actually pull out his credit card because he didn't have enough cash on hand, and he was not going to walk away without any coffee from this. She's a wonderful little girl.
You know it.
And then this is the fun news. We have some new origins that are getting ready to phase in. We finally got through the 1 sack of Ethiopian, and we're actually replacing it with something comparable. I just realized that I told Big Bad John I wasn't going to say any of the origins because we're not going to ruin it.
Wah, wah.
Let me get a boo in the chats. Oh, wait, there's chats I have to read, too. Yes, thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil. There are the man. The intro. Glad you like it. Also, to all who haven't seen and or had the chance to meet, there's Princess Magpul, rocking work from home.
Known for her heckling of all and firing of me.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
That's right. That's why we can't.
And then our El Salvadorian powder, our barely drinker, that one's going to be phasing out as well. We got a spicy new flavor coming in, so you got to be on the lookout for that. And then the Guatemalan as well is going to get phased out. And I cannot reveal too much, but if you miss the new roast that we have for the Guatemalan, then all I can say is may God have mercy on your soul. You've missed. is essentially like the Pharisees missing the coming of Jesus and the glory that it was.
Well, and if anyone misses it, I mean, that ain't on us, because we'll be dropping a couple hints, and y'all have plenty of ways to find out.
Jonathan and I will be acting plenty of fool as we reveal it on one of the upcoming debriefs. All right, and then we, as Jonathan mentioned last time, we have our Misfit Militia deals for Christmas. Come in, get your gifts for loved ones, or just get discounted coffee, discounted excellent coffee. I think that cannot be understated. There are 3 left of the 300 blackout special, so you gotta get it while that charge is still hot.
Especially given how much everyone has shown that they love the wrap on that thing. It just, I mean, Mad Chazzler couldn't have done a better job designing that whole label. So y'all get them while you can.
Thankfully, this is Big Bad John figured out a better way to put that wrap on than I did, because my first attempt was horrible. It was, ooh. Let's just say I had to take 3 days off unpaid, simply because of what a botch that job was. But so that goes it for the coffee news. We'll just pretend that I made that.
Buckets. Swish.
I want to tell you to shut up, but I can't. All right, so moving on. I'm sure you have so many questions. But before we get to that, we're going to take this time to stop and get a word from our sponsors. So when America moved over to the fiat currency, obviously the dollar became worthless because the government could print it whenever they want. And Birch Gold Group tries to help you mitigate this by letting you buy precious metals. But what precious metals, might you ask? Well, you can't find incendiary precious metals or steel core precious metals. So you can't even find full jacketed hollow point precious metals. So ditch Birch Gold Group and buy Misfit Militia coffee. That's right, coffee roasted here in Dyersburg, of the people, by the people, for the people. We're talking flavor so rich and smooth it makes Bill Gates look like a calloused blue-collar working man.
Calloused.
From roast levels from the 22 long rifle all the way up to the 50 AE, we're talking flavors across the board that are so good it will make your mama slap you because you didn't get her some. Don't be that guy. Go to misfitmilitiacoffee.com. Go take advantage of some of the deals, get delicious coffee, and have a wonderful Misfit day.
That brought tears to my eyes.
I tell you what, of all the sponsors that we have, they are by far my favorite.
Yeah.
Fantastic group.
There's just wonderful, crazy bunch of people, and they have some decent coffee.
You can't beat them. $2 for a cup. That's like what you get at Dunkin', and it doesn't even have any. Yep, doesn't even have half the flavor. So, anyways, I'm sure a lot of you are, if you've joined the Misfit Squadron recently, wondering who I am, where I came from, and what I have to do with any of this, and why your Italian coffee man isn't sitting here telling you coffee facts. I am Josh Budnick. I am the Mad Chazzler. I'm one of the other business owners in this, along with Princess Magpul. And for the longest time, well, I guess the way this all started was if you haven't got to hear, you're gonna hear it now. Jonathan and I used to be engineers in our past lives. Thankfully, those lives are done and over with.
Amen.
But we were working at a company and just starting to get dissatisfied. They had core values that they held to that made them grow into a Fortune 500 company. And then as they grew, they decided they were going to be much like many other companies. And you started to see the corporate positions grow, and you started to get a lot of corporate people being hired, which weren't there formerly. So they're just creating all these corporation jobs. And eventually got to a point where Princess Magpul asked me what it is I'd rather be doing. And so talking with Jonathan, we came up with Misfit Militia Coffee. And there was 2 phases to it. Obviously, the first one is coffee. You guessed the second one which is actually the bigger purpose that drove a lot of this, was Misfit. No, wait, Militia, that one. Say.
That one.
The militia aspect of it. And I know there are some people that probably hear that and say, militia, oh, so you just want to fight the government, which, okay, in the same way that someone who gets their driver's license wants to support drunk driving. No, that is that's a subset of things that happen with it. I'm not saying that one is good or bad. Unfortunately, sometimes it is necessary, as we saw in 1776, and hopefully never have to see again. But it may seem like, well, with how militia has been tainted by the government, trying to portray them as bad people or people who are just trying to be conspiracy theorists, want to fight the government, want to rebel, and stuff like that. We saw it necessary to put it in the name so it causes people to ask the question, because one of the main reasons that we will not give up the word militia, I've long said that sometimes if society is going to destroy a word, then just use a different word that works better. The reason this one doesn't work with militia, and the reason we will not concede ground on the word militia, is because it appears in the Constitution and it is part of your rights. And so if you look at the first part of the Constitution, it says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. And that is the idea that we are wanting everyone to realize with what a militia is. We are at the security of freedom, and you are the security of your safety. That is why it's so important to us. The police, you talk to anyone who's an advocate for owning a firearm, and they'll tell you the same thing. The police are always 5 minutes away when the robber's right at your door, seconds from getting in. They can protect you, but what are they going to protect you with? They're going to protect you with a firearm. But the Constitution gives you that right to protect you and your family, and no one is going to do it better than you. Uvalde was an eye-opener. In Uvalde, the police officers were standing in the hallway, looking down the hall, and you had parents who were willing to run in there to get their kids out because they wanted to protect their kids. For police officers, this is a job, and for some of them, it's not necessarily a job worth dying for, especially when it's people that they don't know. It's harder to give up your life for someone you don't know than it is for someone you love with all your heart. And so that is the one thing we wanted to push and be an advocate for. The one thing we want to push and be an advocate for is giving people the courage to own a firearm, but also being a place to train them properly so that they can use that firearm wisely, they can store it, they can keep it, all of the things, they can handle it properly. Because if a firearm is like any other tool, if you're trained on how to use it properly, it can be just as safe as driving in a 2-ton metal cage that can go up to 100 miles an hour. You just have to be trained.
Right. And I mean, I want to jump in real quick and say that y'all heard me sit up here and talk about a lot of this. I just hope y'all understand that I didn't know what Josh was fully going into today, and when we get Princess Magpul in here, we won't know what she's going into. But this is just the consistency of what we stand for is why you see that our discussions overlap, because I mean it's the same thing that from the start. The cup of coffee bridges that gap and allows us all to unify on a point where, if you pull someone off the street, oh, guns, I don't want to, what? But if you sit down and have a cup and show that you're someone who can be talked to, then you get to have that kind of discussion and find out why someone has a fear of it, why they may be afraid to jump into it. And that's where that really just falls hand in hand with the whole concept of having coffee and guns together.
Okay. Phil's saying that there's a little bit of stuttering going on, so we'll have something to work on, some of the kinks to work on for the next one. Thank you for that, Phil. We'll get that looked at. If anyone doesn't know, Phil is our social media manager and an excellent misfit. You should definitely meet him as well.
Amen.
But that's where I come into the picture. Jonathan is the coffee expert, the coffee specialist, if you will. He's been sitting in here telling you about the history of the what before it became the bolt action mug, telling you about percolators and pour overs and all those wonderful things. I am the weapons specialist. I have put in well over 50 plus hours on the range just training. I've taught Jonathan and Angeline how to shoot. I have put together several ARs, which I guess it doesn't need to be said, but I'll say it anyway. AR doesn't stand for automatic rifle or assault rifle. And also, assault rifle has a very specific definition. Anyone that tries to tell you that an AR-15 is an assault rifle, they're just factually and legally wrong. These things have legal meaning, and there's a legal ramification, and there's necessity to having legal definitions to these things.
Even though you could physically assault someone with those metal ones sitting right to your left.
That's true. Shout out to the strategist, our social media manager, for the wonderful Christmas gift. Both American and AR is 2 chef's kisses up.
Where'd you get the one in the back from again?
That one was from Princess Magpul.
That's what I
an
thought.
Earlier Christmas gift.
That's
so
right.
you can see you surround yourselves with great people, you get great Christmas gifts.
In full size and compact size and mini size guns alike.
Mm-hmm. And I guess if you surround yourself with Jonathan, you'll get great Chanukah gifts.
Like coffee.
I mean, what's better than on a cold morning than just a delicious cup of coffee? That's not my mug. I'm so sad. I thought I had coffee with me. Oh, but we'll get to that because I have to brew. Because Jonathan always brews one up with you. Well, we'll finish the discussion, getting too tangent, and then we'll finish up with my preferred method to brew coffee. Because I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, it is a humdinger. But I have trained. I have gone through the class to get my concealed carry permit. I've watched probably over 25 hours worth of YouTube videos. I've trained with Fieldcraft Survival on combat pistol as well as nighttime shooting. So I don't have any military experience, but the one thing that's the most critical with things like shooting is the fundamentals. And that is the one thing that I can do with you is work on the fundamentals, get you working on shooting effectively with a handgun, shooting effectively with a rifle. But especially around here and what we would like to see, or where we even see this business thriving, is if you haven't bought a gun at all, if you've never touched a firearm, if you are deathly afraid of them, we would love for you to come in and talk to us. You are the ones that we want to the most. If you know someone who is deathly afraid of firearms, send them to this video, send them here, have them come talk to us. We understand there should be a fear of firearms because fear is a sign of respect. You know, there's multiple ways you can achieve peace. You either achieve peace through a camaraderie and a bond that makes them not want to hurt you, or you achieve peace through being the most violent but also most restrained person there, so that your enemy knows if they try to mess around, they will very quickly find out. And so, there should be a fear of the firearms because of what can happen if something goes wrong. But at the same note, if you handle a firearm properly, if you have the basics of gun safety, such as you never put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to shoot, you never point at anything you don't intend to shoot, you always treat every single one as if it's loaded, and always be sure of what you're shooting in and beyond. And if you notice, all of these are redundancy. If you never have your finger on the trigger when you're not ready to shoot, if you always treat it like it's loaded, and you're always sure of your target, but you fail safe and point at something you don't intend to shoot while your finger's off the trigger. If you have your finger on the trigger, but you have it ingrained in your mind that you never point at anything you don't intend to shoot, and let's say you accidentally discharge, there's redundancy to make sure that you would have to be a colossal idiot in order for you to accidentally shoot someone. But it does involve training. It involves drilling. It involves getting it ingrained in your mind that you treat this tool as what it is, a dangerous tool. But once you understand that and you train with it, it becomes as safe as driving a car.
Well, I mean, when you first taught me, Chaz, that was the biggest thing for me, was understanding, we, like you said, we're out in a steel mill. And one of the first things you're taught walking into a steel mill is everything here is dangerous. Instead of treating it as dangerous where you tuck tail and run, you treat it as dangerous as in respect. You make sure that you know what you're dealing with, you know how to get into it, and you know how to get out of it. And we can't stress to people enough, I think, when it comes to firearms, even just the discussions we've had with people here, discussions I have with people when I'm doing deliveries in the mornings. It all comes down to not being afraid to where you lock up and can't touch something. Having that healthy fear where you don't ever pick it up haphazardly and go, oh, I'm going to start swinging it around. You're always thinking, okay, this looks like a gun. I'm treating it like a real gun, so I never find an instance where I don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's actually doing well. How are you doing?
Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
Somewhere.
Church of Corinth. But, and the thing about that, I mean, that's the other thing we can talk to you about. You don't need a massive gun safe. You don't need all this high-end equipment. Realistically, if you have a lockbox, if you feel that need, if you have there are bare minimums you should have. You know, if you're going to get a gun, two things I'd strongly recommend you go with it, maybe even three, is a holster that has a locking mechanism for when you're at home, because you can have the gun secure and not have it in a safe. In fact, realistically, the safest place to have it is on you, because one, you have access to it if you need it, but two, you know where it is, and if you have a lock, they have holsters that have a locking mechanism, so your kid could reach for it and pull on it, and unless they actually engage the locking mechanism like they need to, then they're not going to be able to just grab it out of your thing and accidentally shoot someone.
Yep, that was one of the biggest things that he taught me too, was having my little mini misfit running around, making sure that when she's around me, first and foremost, she understands, and then secondly, I have those things in place. I purposely purchased a firearm with a manual safety on it, so that when she's around, that's the one I have on me. That way, there is no chance of anything going wrong.
You know, and so I mean that's the thing, is the best way to handle things that are dangerous is to gain as much knowledge about them. I mean, think about if you wanted to go hiking and we have cottonmouths, we have, poison or venomous. Almost made a mislip there, Princess Magpul.
Fire him.
I was reading the comments, but apparently no one wants to watch me. Oh well. Sucks to be y'all, because I'm hilarious. Anyways, you think about if you wanted to go hiking and you know that there are dangerous animals out there. What do? You research the animals. You come to understand them. Let's say, what's the best thing to do if you come across a bobcat, a mountain lion, a venomous snake, a black bear if you're in the Rockies. The more you understand it, the less that fear is there, because you know what you can do to mitigate the risk, to mitigate the damage. And so firearms is no different. The better you're trained, the more you train, the safer it becomes, to the point of, one, it's going to be so ingrained in you to handle it safely that you're not even going to think twice. You can pick it up, you know you're not pointing at anyone, you know your finger's off the trigger, you're going to drop the mag, pop back the slide, make sure the thing is empty, and then and all that. But you're also going to be, the other benefit to it is you know that if something goes wrong, if you have to protect your family, if you have to fend off, that's one thing to consider whenever poverty goes up, which, with inflation going up, Dyersburg isn't necessarily a big thriver in terms of having healthy and wealthy. You're talking about just factory people living day to day, and you start driving up the price of foods and goods. As poverty goes up, crime is likely to increase, and that's something you have to be ready for. And so that's the thing that we want to get into, is not just giving you good coffee, but getting you prepared to protect Dyersburg. That's even another one I was going to talk about. Should have jotted all this down.
Yeah, that makes it so structured, though.
Yeah, I'll say sometimes it's fun to fire from the hip. Not too much, though. Ammo's expensive. Oh. Yeah. But you look at what happened in Baltimore, in Atlanta, in what I think Philadelphia had one, just with the riots going on. You know, that's what happened in Kenosha, where a 17-year-old boy had to be responsible for the people of Kenosha and do what they should have done. That should have never happened, because Kenosha themselves should have stood up as the militia and saying, no, we are protecting Kenosha. You're not going to come in here and destroy our city. We understand if you feel there is injustice, but destroying our city isn't going to fix injustice. All it's going to leave with is all of us out of jobs and you still going on to the next city to burn, because it's not going to fix anything. And that should have never fallen on the shoulders of a 17-year-old man, because I call him young man because the man conducted himself very well. I mean, he showed better trigger discipline. I don't care which side you fall on that. He showed much better trigger control and muzzle control than many of the police out there. So, but he should have not had to go through that, because the people of Kenosha should have done it for themselves. So I think that's really what I wanted to touch on. Just let you know where I come in, where I fall in this. You can catch me here in the mornings. Part of the reason I'm able to do this now is I've got a position on second shift, but Lord willing, that will only be for a short time once you all start coming in and just buying coffee like it's from Colombia in powdered white. So,
well, and I will jump in and say, it's since Phil dropped y'all a little spoiler in there, we won't go into many details, but we are talking about here at Misfit Militia setting up a round table where y'all will get to hear from all of us. And I think we can all say we're pretty excited to get Princess Magpul in here too, for you to hear her thoughts, because I know between her and I both, I think even more so her than me though, having that in terms of being in a spot where you have been the sole person to protect the people around you, people who, she has seen it I know you have, Josh, but I didn't see it as much, but for her, from her backstory of having seen people who would be so against guns, but then as soon as there's a threat, first person they're running to is you. Hey, I need your help. To get her in, because that's the thing Josh didn't quite hit on with himself, is that it's not just the expertise that he's got. It's the way that he's able to break, the same way that people, talk about me breaking coffee down to a dummy level. That's really how he's handled firearms. It doesn't matter if you are, 10 years in running, every little nook and cranny, or if you literally know nothing, like I did when I first started. No matter what level you come to Josh at, he's able to break it down so that you understand, which is why we didn't want to just do it all. We're in Tennessee. People love guns. But that's not what drove the passion for it. It's his drive to help everybody be able to defend themselves, because it's our God-given right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the big thing. We love guns. I'm all for people who love guns, but the thing we want to inspire is a passion for guns because of the freedom that it allows. I mean, that people don't understand that when we say tyranny, there's often a connotation of thinking a government form, but tyranny is really just somebody forcing you to do something against your will. And that can be, I'm pretty sure if a robber has a knife to your throat, you don't feel like you have an option to not give him your wallet. Right. If someone's holding a gun to you, you don't feel like you have the option to not do what they're telling you. Otherwise, you wouldn't see all these crimes going on as much as they do. But that's the thing. That's a form of tyranny. And that's a form of tyranny that you can protect yourself from if you're properly trained with a firearm. Is it going to be one of those things that no matter what situation you find yourself in, you have your gun, so you're ready? No. But part of having a gun is getting in the mindset to set yourself up so you're not being put in a situation like that. Not walking down a dark alley, not going to these areas that are sketchy, maybe going a little bit farther because it's in a better part of town, or it's this or that, wearing a different shirt so you can be sure to have your firearm on you. It is a lifestyle change, because you don't just have a gun and all your problems go away. You have a tool now, and now you start looking at things from the perspective of what is going to be the safest thing for me to do. So, definitely, if you're interested in learning more about firearms and learning to be safe with them, I have plenty of things for you to try and get a feel for.
Resources.
Yes, resources. I don't have guns because I lost all of those if I did have them, I would have lost them all in a boating accident by this time. It's
terrible boating accident.
It's the darndest thing. Whenever you bring a gun onto a boat, the center of gravity just goes off and the thing just capsizes. And
I'm pretty sure it was outlined somewhere biblically. No,
it might have been that might have been God told Noah, I'll preserve them, just leave them off the boat because otherwise the ark's going to capsize.
Foresight.
So, but if I did have firearms, there would certainly be plenty for you to get a feel for what you like, what you don't like, kind of find out, and even can figure out a trip to the range we use is in O'Brien County in the Smoky Bottom Gun Club. Go out there, get you a few rounds off, and so you can get comfortable with it. But with all that being said, we are going to finish with more coffee stuff because Big Bad John always walks you through different things like how he likes to brew coffee and all that. I'm going to show you my preferred brew method, but I can't show you to the fullest because Phil took the last Peruvian espresso and now I'm angry.
That was his payment.
We couldn't have paid him with like 5 K-cups of something else? Peruvian espresso, Phil. It's a good thing you are both a wonderful man and wonderful at your job. Otherwise, I would implore Princess Magpool to fire Jonathan on your behalf. But since we don't have that, I'm working with Guatemalan today. And Jonathan showed you the percolator. He showed you the French press. He showed you, I believe he showed you his fancy pour over. But I am going to show you both the fastest and best way, guaranteed to be loved by everyone. We're going to be working with Guatemalan, and it's quite simple actually. You grab your cartridge, and you just go, Jonathan, go get me coffee!
Terrifying. There you go.
And just like that,
that'll be $10. Don't worry, we'll settle up later. It's fine. All that build up for nothing. Nope, it should be good. We're showing audio. I work with beans, not technology.